guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Mail. So for today, I'll be covering two different emails sent from subscribers dealing with the subject of the ever-increasing amount of gold diggers in our society, gold diggers, status chasers, and all that, and the negative effect it's been having for quite some time. However, how it definitely has come to backfire and bite a lot of those in the butt later on down the road. And in the first email, it's from a father and grandfather who shares about what his son experienced 27 years ago, long before social media, and now his son's doing well and having the last laugh. And also the main story, which the title's based off of a guy who 15 years ago or 16 years ago got dumped because at 18 he wasn't, in his girlfriend's mind, going anywhere in this world. Really irked him, motivated him to work harder, and now he is kicking butt in life, and you're going to see where she is today, and she shouldn't have broken up with him. Now, why am I going over this? Well, real quick, because, believe it or not, there's a lot of young guys out there that do want marriages one day and kids, primarily because of kids, and want a girlfriend and all that, but they're being rejected because at 18 or 19 years old, they're not millionaires and driving around in a luxury vehicle or a super one like a Ferrari, have a yacht, not even a billionaire, because some of these gals want billionaires. And how, as difficult as it is and frustrating to the young guys out there, don't let it get you down. That's what these idiots, thanks to the feminist movement, where they're all essentially all these hungry, thirsty gold diggers, it's going to backfire. Because guess what? What percentage of guys out there are of that caliber, of that status? Pretty darn small. And so they're just going to keep, and I've seen this in my people I've known, I can think of 3 gals right now, 2 in their 40s, 1 50, who spent their whole lives chasing the next guy, trying to monkey branch, get the perfect guy as a husband, family, and all that. Well, guess what? 2 of them never been married. 2 of them had to have kids through medical science, if you will, the artificial insemination, whatever you want to call it, and still don't have a husband to today, and whine and complain because they don't have guys. And so, for you young guys, don't let it bring you down. Keep persevering, and for those that discard you like you're nothing, you're going to have the last laugh. But it is rampant, and it's really unfortunate. But anyhow, the first story about the father and grandfather, now you'll appreciate this. This gets more into his analysis and what he's been seeing over the decades and really hits home. He says here, hello SSM. I'm writing because the rot in our culture has disrupted the natural selection process between men and women. That is a powerful first sentence. Couldn't agree more. The time that has been spent by this latest generation of young women becoming unduly focused on income and social status has been at work, eroding our nation's social fabric for quite some time now. It's not just a secular issue. It affects religious communities as well. And the difference between women's expectations and what men seek is growing. Yes, absolutely. It's been going on for quite some time. 27 years ago, 27, before social media, my then 21-year-old son just completed his 2-year Latter-day Saints mission to New Jersey. By then, my job requirements had moved us to Northern Virginia in the vicinity of the D.C. Beltway. He was an honorable, single, hard-working man who owned his own transportation. As a returned missionary, an RM, he was a hot ticket among the young Latter-day Saints women, or so we all thought. I can't help but think when I when I hear this, the mission work about these the Latter-day Saint young men, I always think of the musical The Book of Mormon. Guys, if you have girlfriends or wives who are always after you to take them to a musical and you don't want to go see Mamma Mia or some damn thing, go see the Book of Mormon if it's in your city. You will laugh your tail off. I know Mormons that have seen it and laughed their tails. It's so funny, and I hear this, I just think of that. I've known many guys like this throughout my life and travels, and they're really nice people. The singles congregation for him met in Crystal City across the Potomac River from downtown D.C. The congregation was loaded with yuppies. Those young men and women had undergraduate degrees in business, political science, psychology, pre-med, physics, mathematics, and a variety of information technologies, among others. Probably more than half of them held graduate degrees as well. Accounting, CPAs, architecture, business law, medicine, cybersecurity, and infrastructure, etc. And it was not uncommon to be sitting next to MDs, PhDs, NPs on Sundays. Aside from the educational levels, There were tech startup millionaires in that congregation, many of whom had drawn the interest of several three-letter federal agencies. I can imagine. As for potential dating options, my son, with his RM, again the return missionary status, and high school diploma, was a clownfish compared to the leviathans who swam above him, and they let him know about it. Well, then they're douchebags. Disillusioned by the social roadblocks thrown in his path, my son moved to what we Mormons refer to as Happy Valley. The formal name is Utah Valley. Brigham Young University and Utah Valley University are there. Tens of thousands of college gals, but guess what? The girls are more interested in guys who already had their education and careers or had shown huge earning potential and were drawing high six-figure incomes. Shocker. Now look, here's the deal. Young women, particularly young beautiful women in particular, are always going to be interested in high-status men and wealth. I mean, going back to the caveman days, I'm sure whatever guy in the cave who had the most saber-toothed tiger furs or skins probably got more cave women than the average Joe. But my point is, it's even more an issue than before. And you can thank the bowel movement, the feminist movement, for really hammering it in. And now it's even worse with social media. And the expectations are so unrealistic, it's ridiculous. So this is very discouraging, you can imagine, for this guy's son and young guys out there, because they don't stand a chance. Again, like the old saying that they don't care about where you are, they want you at the finish line, or whatever the hell. I've heard many versions of that saying. Yeah, a good girl, a good woman, is not going to care about that, and she'll want you for you. And they're going to make it one day. Essentially, it was the same game as the D.C. area, just a smaller pool with less healed expectations. The old days of landing a good man and building a life with him was not something those girls were interested in. He needed to be front-loaded with all the good stuff for those girls to show any interest in him. Well, guess what? I bet a lot of those girls, I bet you the absolute majority, probably 96% of 97%, didn't get those guys they wanted in the end. Those guys probably used them and tossed them aside. And then they settled and were miserable. Well, my son eventually married a great young gal, and they've been building that life together. They have 3 athletically gifted, energetic, and intelligent sons. My boy didn't come away unscathed from his experiences, but he turned his wounds into wisdom, and he's grown in important ways, not just as a man, but as a father, husband, and leader in his community as well. Good for him. That's great. I'm sure his son's a great guy. Yeah, it's very discouraging seeing all that, but I'm glad he met and married a great young gal. And I'm sure since you watch this channel, you probably passed on to your son things to look out for. And now you got 3 grandsons. And now your grandsons are no doubt teenage years, and they're dealing with this shit, the same shit, but worse. I feel bad for the young guys out there on multiple fronts. I fear the nearly fanatical focus on a man's earning potential has driven expectations among the latest generation of women into a kind of a feeding frenzy. They want to experience their thirsty phase, but then they demand acceptance of them in their repentant tradwife conversion. They simply expect a young man to go along with them on that journey. Yes, they do. In other words, what he's saying here is they're going to be riding the carousel, go through the hose phase, I'm speaking in code here. Then all of a sudden, when they probably realize they can't get that guy they want, then they want to be tradwives and all that, and expect young guys to accept their prior hose phase. Nope. More and more young guys are not doing that. And there they are, whining and complaining and crying because they don't have a family in their 30s and 40s because they screwed the whole thing up. And nobody feels bad about that. Feminism got them where we are now, but women's double standard expectations for themselves and for men will ensure the gulf between the wants and requirements of the two sexes increasingly will keep them apart. Amen, sir. Amen. And I agree with that completely. But this is something, I'm glad your son eventually found a great gal and he's had a good marriage and 3 awesome young grandchildren that you have. But now your grandsons, whatever age they are, I'm assuming they're teenagers now, are dealing with that. So definitely pass on this wisdom to them, Grandpa, and your son does as well. Show them my channel. It might help them out. But you are obviously got a good grandfather, good father, and I'm glad your son's doing well. But there are gals out there, guys. They're not all like this, but a massive amount are. So you got to be very careful, But my best advice in a situation like this for the young guys out there being rejected left and right because, again, they're not millionaires and have yachts, is just use that to fuel your ambition and drive, saying, F you, I'll show you, ha, ha, ha. And then you'll be laughing down the road when you're doing well. And guess what? They are anywhere better off. In fact, worse, because guess what? The guys they could get that were the top percentage guys that probably came from money, because that's what they chase, they've been tossing them around. And now you can laugh about that. And this next story is going to show you just that. This guy writes in, he says, "Hi, SSM. I've been meaning to write to you in the community about the last laugh experience I had in 2025 when I went to my 15-year high school reunion. Some backstory here. I graduated high school in 2010, and during my junior and senior year, I was in what I thought was a good relationship with my first of everything, a girl that I will call Alexis. The plan was that after graduation, we would try to make the long-distance thing work while going to separate colleges. That would have been a terrible idea, but I know you know this. Well, that barely lasted 1 month. Alexis broke up with me for a lot of BS reasons, but emphasized that she really wants to go somewhere in this world, and I wasn't the guy to make that happen. Man, that was heartless. Well, I'm sure there was more going on to that, but just to say that, you were 18, for heaven's sake. This is coming from an 18-year-old girl. I was actually very driven to be a success, but what the hell was I going to accomplish at 18 years old? Yeah, exactly. 18, for heaven's sake. I'll admit that after getting dumped, I did cry a bit, and it took me some time to get over the shock, but it definitely hardened me and gave me a giant wake-up call about women. In other words, you were R-pilled. Even though we came from a small community, I didn't see her for years, and frankly, I didn't want to. Well, being dumped for supposedly not going anywhere in life really gave me the drive to make something of myself. Good for you, brother. I busted my butt to get excellent grades in school, while also working to try to save money on the side. I ended up graduating a semester early. There you go. When most people nowadays, or in the last 20 years, tend to go 5 years for 4 years degrees, you did it in 3.5. Awesome. I went on to get my MBA, and after that, thanks to some good connections, I got a job working my dream job at a top investment bank in New York City. Sweet, dude. Since I was the low man on the totem pole, and in my 20s, I worked hellish hours, but made great money, and equally important, got a lot of experience. Eventually, after years of the hellish grind and burning the midnight oil, in my mid to late 20s, I got promoted to where I started making excellent money, and I didn't have to work the crazy hours I did before. Well, fast forward a couple years, and I met a great gal who trusts me, SSM, I have thoroughly vetted. Well, I would imagine after we went through the first time, and if you watch this channel, yeah. We are now engaged, but still waiting a couple more years for the big day. How long have you known her before you got engaged? You didn't mention that, but I'm going to trust you're doing things right. Be careful, brother. You're a high earner. I got to make that clear. She's also done well for herself, but fully backs my career and respects my insistence for a prenup for the both of us. That's great, man. Good. Girl that agrees with a prenup, good. But also, you said she does well, too. Well, last year we moved to the Miami office as I was sick and tired at NYC. You're not alone. Welcome to Florida. Well, anyway, since I am from a small town, and I went to my 15-year high school reunion last year, I wanted to catch up with some old friends while showing my fiance more of where I came from. Well, take a wild guess who was there. You got it, Alexis. 15 years later, is she with a billionaire or a millionaire? Let's see. Guess who clearly was not successful? Alexis. She was by herself, and it looked like she put on probably about 30 pounds. And is already showing signs of age. Meanwhile, my fiance, who is only a couple years younger than me, looks fantastic. And he says, okay, yes, I'm a little biased. Yeah, didn't get her millionaire, and she's 30 pounds bigger. That's not going to help her odds unless she finds a millionaire or a wealthy guy that likes big chicks. Since some of my old buddies never left the community, they had plenty of dirt on Alexis. It seems that she went from guy to guy during college and in her 20s, always trying to get somebody better. Does it sound familiar? Next thing you know, she's pushing 30, along with pushing her waistline. And now finding a guy is not as easy as it was a decade ago. Now she's living with her parents and works at an insurance broker's office in town. Nothing wrong with working at an insurance broker's office, but the point is, this is the girl that dumped you, said you weren't going anywhere in this world. If she stayed with you, now maybe you wouldn't have had the same drive that you had. We can all debate that one. But regardless, she'd be better off to live with her parents at 33 or 34, whatever it is, and would be doing a lot better. At the end of the night, as we were leaving to go to the after party, we ended up passing each other, and the look on her face was priceless. This is a relatively small community, and people talk. No doubt she heard that I worked on Wall Street, and maybe even that I'm now living in Miami. This is the same gold digger who dumped me because I wasn't going anywhere in the world, and all I could do was smile and keep on walking. For all the guys out there who've been dismissed or discarded by the same gold digger types, don't let it bring you down. The odds are these egomaniacs will never find any good guy that's good enough and eventually end up alone. Use the disrespect to push you to make something yourself in this world. Amen. Good job, man. That is great. Yeah, you were R-pilled 18 after she dumped you. I mean, I'm sure it was very painful. You said she was your first of everything, so I'm guessing first love, first bedroom action, all that. And yeah, it sucks, and I'm sure it hurt badly. But you know what? You know, it hardened you, and we can debate whether that really pushed you to get you where you are. I mean, it sounds like you're probably a hardworking, ambitious guy. Anyway, that really pushed you, and that's great. So all I can say is just use the knowledge you've learned before and on here to help you with your marriage. And again, you know, be careful. I'm sure the girl you're with is great and all that. That's cool. You deserve it. But just remember everything you've learned, and make sure you play things right with the prenups and all that. I've done videos on that with guys written in, lawyers and all that. But there you go, guys. So this is what happens. The ridiculous, absurd expectations that it's completely mathematically impossible. Again, how many guys out there are above 6 feet tall and have a six-pack? And let's be honest, let's up the ante here to 6 figures. Nowadays, they want a guy with 7 figures and a Ferrari and all that. How many guys are like that? And will discard young guys that could do very well regardless in life because they aren't that. Made them feel like they're nothing. That's bullshit. So don't let that bring you down. And I'm telling you, like in these stories, you know, you'll end up in a better place if you don't let it get you down. Push yourself, do well for yourself, but do it for you. Don't do it just to... Revenge is fun. Having the last laugh is fun, but really ultimately do it for your own life, peace and fulfillment and happiness. And then you can have the last laugh, because you will. And a lot of these types will end up like that girl in this story. Or 3 different gals I know who, no matter what, the guy wasn't good enough for them. And these gals that I'm acquainted with, one who's just turned 50 and 2 in their 40s. One's late 40s. One is about, 41. Every one of them. They were very good looking in their 20s and 30s when I first knew them. Nobody was ever good enough. And believe me, every so often, because these are friends of friends, you see at barbecues and picnics and stuff like that. And every once in a while, there'd be the waterworks. Oh, I have no husband. I have no kids. It's like, you're a fucking egomaniac. And you see the looks just depreciating over time, you know. But I don't feel bad for them. And you got a whole world of that. So remember, guys, you take care of yourself. You keep on that grind. You're going to be all right. And there are some gals that aren't like that. But sadly, the number's few. But that's the mess that the feminist movement, the battle movement, has contributed to in our society. Sooner or later, they're going to learn. But we shall see. So anyway, great story to all you guys out there. I appreciate you sending that in. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a great story you want to share or questions for me, questions for the community. I mean, when you write in, it ain't just for me. It's for the community to help you out with. Or a good article you want me to cover or roast, send it my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.